Actually, when you look at conservation, especially, let's talk about Nairobi National Park, as it were. We have just been given an example of what other cities are doing to reclaim their position and go green, That means that development and conservation can exist peacefully. So no one has to suffer in all this thing called development. But if that were to be taken away from the dwellers, the residents of Nairobi and Kenya, what would that mean, and what would that look like in terms of quality of life that the residents have?
Right. I mean, even the fact that you mentioned the point, development and conservation in that way, again, points to the false choice that Nyaguthi is mentioning. Because development is actually advancing on many different things at the same time. Development is just not a financial improvement, right? You wouldn't ever say, should we have development or freedom of the press? You wouldn't say, should we have development and human rights, right? Like, development is advancing human rights, in advancing rule of law, advancing the economic status, advancing the environmental status. That is development, when you do all of that together properly. Right, so this conversation about development versus conservation is actually a very false argument, and it's one perpetuated precisely to allow things like this to happen. What we should be asking is, like, as a city, for example, what is the optimal way we want to grow as a city so that, for example, it improves mobility? We have better mobility in this country. Do we have better recreational spaces and green spaces? And Nairobi National Park is one of those spaces, but it's not the only one, right? Yes, because it has a greater status as a national park, it's globally renowned, we have charismatic wildlife in it. Yes, it has a certain unique status, and it's very central to Nairobi's identity as a city. I don't think you see any advertising around Nairobi, whether it's starting from the airport, JKIA, to the city, Safaricom, whatever it is, you look at it, that imagery of Nairobi always has the Nairobi National Park in it. It's very central to identity. So it's an identity question, number one. But in terms of quality of life, I think the issue we have in Nairobi is we actually have a lot of green spaces, but they're so concentrated so that only a few elite enjoy them, right? You think of how many parts of Nairobi actually have no green space at all. There are other parts, even wealthy suburbs of Nairobi, that are green because that green exists on people's private property. Will you go to Runda? Do you go to Karen and see a public park there? No. You don't. So the idea that Nairobi is developing because we're constantly building, but what we're actually doing is reducing the public spaces and, more importantly, public goods in Nairobi across how we think development is happening. And that is what we should be talking about and against. Development is advancing on all fronts, including the environment.